Good day, all. In our studio today, we have Honorable Bakary Bunja Dabo, the leader of the Gambia for All. That's a political party in the country. Honorable Dabo, thank you for coming to our studios.
Thank you, Frederic. Pleasure to be with you in your beautiful settings.
We are honored. So, down the line, 1 year after the creation of your party, what is the space the Gambia for All can claim in the political landscape of the country?
Yeah, well, it's true that chronologically the party has been launched almost exactly a year ago, a year and 1 month. And in the life of a political party in a small country like the Gambia, one would like within that space of time to see significant impact measurable in terms of the extent of a political space you can claim to have to have conquered, as it were. Yes, I must say though we have been pretty unfortunate because some good 9 months or more of that 1 year period has been taken up by the COVID in terms of its implications for the work of the party. As a newly launched party a year ago, the most important or the priority action we wanted to devote attention to was to plant the party, to go around, introduce the party and lay the foundation for planting it all over the national territory. And it's precisely that particular activity which has been hit badly by the restrictions that flew from the COVID situation, the public health
authorities. It imposed on you a revisiting of your strategy.
Right. It needed, well, yeah, revisiting our strategy, but also particularly putting off the planned activity of going around the country, because it would involve gathering crowds which would go into the face of the regulation. So yeah, so really it's about 13 months since the party was launched, but in terms of that particular essential activity, it's 13 months minus something like 9 months during which we couldn't do any activity. But from December onwards, we've started moving on that particular activity. Before the COVID restrictions were imposed, we had time to sort of introduce the party in and around the Kombo St. Mary and what we call Kombo Santo. That is, immediately after the restrictions are relaxed, the first thing we did was to act on consolidating the gains we had made in that restricted area of Kombo St. Mary and Kombo Santo. We went as far as even organizing the setting up of an intermediate coordinating structure, which we call in our party area committees, because we had gone as far as set up constituency committees in time for our constitutive congress. But now a second layer, supervisory layer in our party structure is called the area committees. And we managed, since the COVID restrictions were relaxed in December, we managed in January to hold conferences which enabled us to put in place such area committees in Kombo St. Mary as well as in Kombo Santo. But more importantly, it's since the end of January that we embarked on what was actually a resumption of the tour around the country to introduce the party, which has gone very well as far as the mission is concerned. It is too early in terms of what we are able to do on that occasion to say we have conquered the whole country.
But during the tour, what did you see? What did you see? The living standard of the Gambians. What do they tell you?
Oh yes, I'll come to, if you like, what I saw about that. But in terms of the party's own fortunes, what I saw was a very positive disposition on the part of the population towards our idea of a party and our message. Our message resonated very well with the people. So to that extent, I could say there is a strong positive disposition towards our party. Obviously, we have to work harder still on it to translate that into actual sort of adherence to our party. But going beyond the party's concerns, yes, you couldn't help observing great poverty and hardship in the country going around. This is, you know, it's manifested itself in so many ways. Of course, as you know, the economic hardship in the country generally takes the form of very expensive cost of living, which hits the rural population even more than the urban population because of their income levels are much smaller. So we've seen that, we've seen it for evidence of it, and we've heard it from the population that there is
especially
real hardship.
The COVID-19.
Yes, that the COVID-19 has come to worsen it. But apart from that, there has been significant drop in earnings of the rural population over the years. It's not only now, this has been going on since for 27 years, because the rural economy, as you know, as its main pillars, farming, animal, livestock, and fishing, and these were all activities that for many years necessitated considerable amount of investment, public investment, to keep them going, and unfortunately, it's that investment which has been dwindling over this past 27 years, since 1994. And talking to the local population, particularly the elderly ones, they easily remembered and could see the contrast in terms of how much was invested in these critical sectors in terms of support, and how that support dwindled to almost zero. And that also coincided with a sharp drop in production. Where at one time we hit the level of 140,000 tons of production of groundnuts. Now we barely make 20,000 tons, and this has been going on for many years. The same goes for other crops, and the same also goes for livestock production. The same goes for fisheries production. So really, the poverty has been deepening over the years progressively for many, many years now. And yes, it's true that the COVID, impact of the COVID thing has come to worsen it, but it has been there. So that is so evident. And that apart, there have been also other extreme cases that make life very difficult. Communications is extremely bad. Road conditions are terrible. I mean, yes, it's true, the main all-weather road on both sides of the river have been about to be completed, but the very essential feeder routes leading to where most of the communities are is still in very bad shape. The other part, there are some even basic needs like water supply, which is still a problem. The government has had, over the years, particularly with technical cooperation from partners, done a lot in rural water supply, but there's still a lot of hardship. I have seen with my own eyes in the Salums, a number of communities who now have it as a daily chore to get donkey carts to go over the border in Senegal to get drinking water. Wow. Not to talk of vital economic activity like gardening, which is now a big thing in the country. Women, from the moment you cross into Barra all the way up to the end of Wuli, women everywhere are either engaged in it or they aspire to it. But whether they are actually engaged in or whether they are only planning, they have a problem of lack of support, lack of water, lack of fencing. So the hardship is all over. The social issues like public health. Forget about the COVID complications, but the medical health care.
And especially with women, a lot of them die giving birth.
Absolutely, because that is linked particularly with the communications problem, where the roads are terrible. Yes, that happens quite frequently. But even without that, even the quality of services in the government establishment is very poor. I myself witnessed it. I went down with pain, mercifully not a very sharp pain, and I had to go to the hospital in Bansang. And the young doctors there were very kind. They attended to me very promptly, but all that they could offer me was a prescription because none of the drugs I needed
were available in the hospital.
And and ironically, 2 of the 4 prescribed drugs, I got them
in your car
at a store just outside the hospital. Just outside.
Wow.
So yes, hardship is really one reality you cannot miss about rural Gambia now, and it's something that even though the trip as a mission didn't go to look for it, but even if you close your eyes, you could see it, and if you close your ears, you could hear it.
So in that short span, the Gambia for All was able to get in touch with the inner Gambia, discover what was going wrong. But the Gambia for All also decided to attack some injustices that a lot of Gambians unanimously agreed upon. This is the right of Gambians abroad to choose their leaders, but also to be chosen in an election. And you filed a suit at the Supreme Court that you won. Can you tell us more about that? Why did you decide to challenge that in court?
Yeah, but let's get the facts straight. Actually, Gambia for All as a body was not part of that initiative, even though I do know that they are in support of it as a matter of principle. But it was in my personal capacity as a citizen who teamed up with other Gambians who instituted that action. I say the Gambia for All as a party is in favor of it because we had, as a party, to express our dissatisfaction over some of the issues which are subject of the lawsuit. So clearly, I know that the party is in support of it, but it wasn't actually part of the lawsuit. It was in my own individual capacity. Now, yes, one of the ruling we given in the case did go to clear the air about voting for Gambians living in the diaspora, and I welcome that. I think that's a very positive thing. Is in the way I understand is in the nature of making things abundantly clear, because before then, strictly speaking, I did not understand the law to say Gambians in the diaspora could not vote. No, the law didn't say they couldn't vote. It's just that the management of elections in the country had not been making plans for them to exercise.
Clearly, the IEC was not catering for it.
Was not catering for it. Whether they would say they didn't have the money or somebody weren't catering for it. Now the ruling, my reading of the ruling is that it makes it obligatory on them to look for means to make it happen. So to that extent, I welcome it very much. But I must say that the issues we were agitating in the court go beyond just the vote for the diaspora. There are other issues. Particularly, our quarrel was mainly with the amendment to the Elections Act of 2016, which, among other things, imposed certain draconian requirements on, for instance, registering new parties. Like
yes, I would have come to that. Yes.
The need to open operational bases all over the country.
The IEC, the Supreme Court kind of dived the issue and decided not to rule on that?
Yeah, well, when the ruling was given, I was actually up country, and actually my agenda is to have an early meeting with our solicitor for her to take me through. Yes, but from the media accounts, I got the impression that the Supreme Court didn't sort of rule on that particular issue. So I'll try to find out. But anyway, that was for us, as far as the action, that was one of the key points. We thought that particular law, the IEC law, was highly discriminatory and actually flies into the face of the principle of encouraging association of people to form political parties. If we impose a huge amount like $1 million, you really going to...
And a lot of signatures.
So we signatories, and also there was also another requirement about members of the
being in the Gambia
have residential qualification. We consider all those unnecessary. So those are actually some of the issues we really went to fight. Over and above even the right of the
diaspora.
Right of diaspora, yes. But I'll have to sit with our lawyer for her to explain to me the full implications of the ruling made and whether there is anything else more for us to do.
Mm-hmm. If you succeed in that, it means that that may encourage a lot of political parties to be created in the Gambia. In fact, many believe that we have many. Is that a good thing for our democracy?
Well, yes, I think democratic system really means that people should have freedom to form parties, freedom of association. Now, if that translates into multitude of parties, well, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I do agree that there comes a point where, it either trivializes issues or doesn't help very much. But in a democracy, I'm afraid this is something that is difficult to go against, because if you go against it, you cannot appear to be upholding the principle of freedom of association. So if you go for the principle of association, you have to accept that part of the consequences could be that there will be increase. But as going by the experience of other countries, sometimes some of these parties do die a natural death before long.
Yes.
Yes, because politics is one of those things in which the game is quite loose in terms of regulatory rules. So people set up political parties for different reasons.
Many would say that if you have many political parties, you diversify the political offer.
Yes.
There are different programs that are table for the electoral to choose.
Yes.
But also...
That's the ideal, yes. That's the ideal thing,
also, you can trivialize the game in a sense that some people create a political party just to look for advantages.
For different things, yes. I think the very apt description is parti major. Parti major, people who come to use the party to get something for them. It's okay, but I'm afraid some of these things go over. The fortunate thing is that, as I say, over time, some of these parties tend to die one way or the other. Either they get merged into bigger parties, or they themselves accept that they cannot carry the project any further and they leave. So I'm afraid this is something that democracy has to go along. It's one of the inconveniences.
Okay. And then the IEC, the connection with IEC, we still remain on the electoral system. The IEC has decided that it will stick to the marble for the December elections. How do you think that is feasible now with the ruling of the Supreme Court asking them to prepare something for the diaspora? Well, they said they will use paper ballots for the diaspora. Is that workable?
No, it's not. The problem is not with the Supreme Court ruling. The Supreme Court ruling says let the diaspora vote. Now, what form of vote or what form of ballot they use, that's really a purely operational issue that the IEC is capable of. It's up to them. If they feel...
But in terms of operational issue, the time is short. Do you think that IEC can get ready before that? As a political party, are you not Are you not kind of scared?
No, I'm only concerned
Concerned.
and hopeful that the IEC will be able to rise up to the challenge, the operational challenges. But for now, I can't. I'll go by what they tell us in the open that they will be able to deliver. So for now, we give it a chance and see. But it's a purely operational issue, really.
Well, as we speak, the debate in the country is reviving the dead draft constitution. Is the Gambia for All party to the consultations engaged by IDEA and Goodluck, former Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan?
Oh yes, we support the search for a consensus that will enable the bill to go back to Parliament with an increased chance of its passing. That is really where we stand. We agree on resort to mediation because it seems the forces internally have not been able to succeed. It went to Parliament, it was thrown out, and since then the debate has been talking at each other. We have been talking at each other, criticizing each other, but really no clear direction has been taken to bring about the kind of achievement. So if we cannot find an internal solution to it, asking for mediation from outside neutral person, there's nothing wrong with that. We support that entirely, yes. And now it's left now to the skills of that mediation outfit to make a success of it. Hopefully they'll deliver it. The process is still going on. Obviously we are beginning to get concerned because time is going for the constitutional process to be hopefully successfully concluded to enable the new constitution to be in place in time for the next election. So we are watching that with some degree of concern. But yes, on the principle of mediation, we have no objection to that. If it wouldn't have been necessary if we were able to solve it internally, but we haven't.
To which extent do you think concessions should be made to Adama Barrow, who seems to have a problem with retroactivity, and yet we've never heard him talking publicly about the issue?
Well, yeah, the mediation, I think they tend to keep the cards to their chest in terms of what they get from their interactions with individual party leaders. But they do have plenary sessions, and at those plenary sessions, representatives of parties have been voicing their respective positions, and those who spoke for President Barrow's party, as well as other parties, I think APRC and other, they have been voicing their objection to the draft prepared by the CRC. From what I can recall from those interventions, their main argument about this particular issue of two-term limit is that they are not against the principle of it. In fact, they support it, but it's the cutoff point. In other words, the application of it in relation to the sitting president, because as drafted, it says that where this particular principle is to apply to a sitting president, his current term would count as a first term.
But that's a public demand.
Yes, I do agree with you that as far as the ordinary Gambians are concerned, they are not bothered about these technicalities of calling it first terms, retroactivity. I think the real mind of Gambians, and they feel very strong about, is that there should be change of leadership at no longer than rate of every 10 years, that no leader should remain in office for more than 10 years. That is quite clear. That is absolutely clear. And I do believe that I do expect that the mediators know about this and that they will take that on board. But as I said, I don't know exactly what they get from the party leaders themselves, or President Barrow. But his representatives at these plenary sessions seems to, up until the last session, which I attended, they seem to still hold very firmly to the argument that applying it in the case of President Barrow would mean practice of retroactivity, resort to retroactivity, which we do agree that in ideal situations, I've had many legal minds frown on it. But it's a question of, that's more a question of natural justice. It doesn't affect the legality. It can still be legal if the parliament can go with it.
Yes, so, because that's the spirit.
And of course you can also say this is a major consideration, but pitched against it is the fundamental consideration that the people want no more than 10 years. So maybe there is room for President Barrow and people who support him to look at it in that way too. That if you apply it respecting this legal drafting ideal of not making things retroactive, you can then offend the popular feeling, very strongly expressed popular feeling, that nobody should be given a chance to stay for more than 10 years.
10 years, yeah.
So these are some of the, I think, some of the major considerations. I think there are other issues also. I'm told that the idea of parliamentary oversight through confirmation of certain
nominations by the
appointments,
president.
I think that also, well, again, judging by the intervention by President Barrow's party representatives, is they did seem to not quite happy with that also.
But basically, if you look at the loggerhead, the problem is with President Barrow. He's not saying anything.
You haven't heard him say make any pronouncement, as far as I can remember. Of course, in the context of the mediation process, he can argue that his representatives are given full powers, plenipotentiary powers to speak for him. Maybe he may argue that. But in terms of him coming out, and the issue is now really that important. I think it's important for him to really speak out and tell the people what he personally feels about issues. That's extremely important, yes.
Honorable Dabo, we thank you so much for coming to our studios. And we hope that this is not the first one. We will get you more and more here. Thank you so much.
From what I could see, it's a beautiful settings. I'll always come back.
Thank you.
Thank you, and wish you
Thank you, viewers, and we hope to get you soon.
Thanks.